Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we're doing a
Skype.
Podcast, 2001: A Space Odyssey style. That was my only way to explain that to like my dad. I remember when he asked me a long time ago when Skype came out. He was like, "What's that like?" I'm like, it looks like 2001. You know the part of the beginning where he's talking to his daughter? That was like my only way to explain it to him so you'd know.
At some point, my computer, like the little like light on top of my computer, is going to start singing Daisy to me once it starts to slowly power down. Daisy, Daisy. Yeah. So we're going to try this out now that you actually have a spot where you can. Because I just got a microphone. It looks like a vibrator made for R2D2, but nonetheless is a good working microphone, and the Meteor 3 Samsung. So I'm going to try that thing out. Now, so I don't know, this is more of an experiment than anything. We're going to try and make this go back to kind of like you and me bullshitting the way we used to do before Cameron and RJ, but if it all works out though, then I guess you guys could probably start your own like video game podcast. That'd be pretty awesome if that's the case. But this is like we said earlier, this is just still kind of just a test because we've never tried this on Skype before. So hopefully it all works.
No, I really did feel like, a couple of years ago or like, at the beginning of the podcast, if you asked me to do a Skype one, it'd be like, that sounds too fucking weird. I don't know, man. Like, that's not real. It's like having a fucking conversation with your computer and making it a podcast.
I remember, I guess it almost says how far we've come. I remember just a few, like 2 years ago, I had like a FaceTime conversation with somebody over my phone. And I was like, this is fucking weird, It's almost like the Jetsons almost. It almost says like how primitive caveman we can be sometimes.
It seems kind of strange, and the Skype thing, I will say this, other than like a podcast or maybe talking to somebody you don't see very often, it seems kind of weird. I do think that, like, if anything, I don't know, it's like, why do I want to look at somebody? If I was going to talk to somebody for an hour, it seems kind of weird to look at them unless, I guess, you're doing a podcast.
Yeah, unless you don't see someone a whole lot, or like you said, podcasting. I don't
know. The times that I've seen people use Skype, it's like they're laying on like the edge of their bed, like their feet kicked up. It just looks, I don't know, man. I guess it would look real gay, so it kind of turned me off. Or they just have like their laptop just sitting on their gut with a fucking no
Cheetos
shirt on
their face. Like, what's up?
What's
fucking,
up?
Like Cheeto crumbs,
I'm at home.
Cheeto crumbs and like their like chest hairs, just yeah. But no, I was actually. You're gonna say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. See, we're still working out the kinks, still getting used to it.
Yeah,
Well, I figured might as well because we almost every other week we've been calling each other like, dude, did you see this movie? Dude, did you see that movie?
It was like it was like it was like the old fashioned, like when you're a kid and the first time you kind of get like you start talking to your buddies on like the phone, and it just seems kind of weird because you go down and you talk to your friends for like 3 fucking hours about movies and video games.
Mm-hmm, you're just gonna
and then there comes a point in life where you just really stop talking on the phone. And I don't know if it happens, like you sort of get a car, and the next thing you know, you could drive to your buddy's house. So that, I think, almost ends the whole phone conversation thing.
And then plus, you just live in the age of text, where it's just so easy just to send a text and then get back to your leisure, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess that's true, too. But I'm talking about like when you used to have like those long-ass phone calls.
Oh, yeah. With a friend you wouldn't see very often, or even if...
No, not even a friend you wouldn't see very often. I'm talking about, it would even be somebody you saw every day at school, but it was prior to a point in life where you could go to their house. It was the only means to like...
Well, there's also that point when you're a kid where it's just kind of like, oh, yeah, well, we're just going to... Where every time you crashed at someone's house, it was awesome. It was a big deal. Unless it was the kid down the street, because you saw that guy all the time. But as far as your friends that live away, every time you went, it was like almost a big like event or something, like kind of like that. But now it's just... But then when you reach a certain age, when you, like your car, like when like in high school, you're like, yeah, I see him all the time. I can drive over there. It's not a big fucking deal, really.
Yeah,
it's more like probably that grade K through probably, I don't know, probably the 4th grade, where it seems kind of a big deal. After that, it's just like, whatever.
For the 4th grade, I was gonna say like it goes up to like probably like high school all the way.
Think so? Oh, okay.
I think so, because I remember like every weekend in like high school and stuff, you'd always like have people come over and hang out and play games.
Well, I mean, like where it was a big deal. That's what I mean. Where people
I mean, like kind of like the
you'd almost be marketing your calendar. That's all you're looking forward to that month. You know what I mean? Your parents.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like when, back in the day. See, like I was one of those kids though. Like I was spending the night like at age 3. Like I was one of those early ones. I mean, I had friends that came over to my house in about 4th and 5th grade, and it was the first time they ever spent the night at somebody's house. And that blew my mind because I was like, fuck, I've been spending the night since I was like 3 years old. Come on.
I remember. I want to mention this because you mentioned kids. It's kind of a dick story, but it's just so funny. For name's sake, because we still sort of know him, kind of. I haven't seen him in at least 2 years. We sort of know. Let's call him Willy. Willy was the kid that he was basically Butters from South Park. He was the kid that everyone kind of made fun of. I mean, I never made fun of him, but you guys did. I remember you and Cisco had him over at your place one time, and you guys were playing. You were playing some video game, just like depending on how much you win, that's how much food you get.
Oh, we were playing Sega Marine Fishing.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so
we had the fishing controller all hooked up to the Dreamcast and everything. And me and Cisco were just landing these huge, like 150-pound marlins and sharks and all this stuff. And every single time Willy went to fucking cast, he would get like this like 5-pound fish that was like, I didn't even know that existed in the game. I didn't even know you could catch something that low. It was like in my entire life of playing that game, I never caught anything under like 50 pounds.
So then, like, you guys would get, like, a whole bag of chips and all this, and he got, like, a piece of bread, like, the end of, like, the stub of a loaf of bread or something like that.
Well, we used to have those kind of, like, tournament things where you're like, okay, like, you gotta, like, earn things. We found a way, like, without currency, we could earn things through, like, gaming, and that's how you can eat. I think in the long run, we all ended up just splitting it all, but, like, it was
just
like
fun.
Game.
No, didn't you guys do something like, because every time you guys would sneak up on both sides of them, like, land break!
You would keep breaking the fucking, like, every single time you'd be casting and you would snap the line. It's like, it's like an arcade game. It's not like the hardest thing to do. There's a fucking bar down there at the bottom. Keep it in the middle. Don't go too high, don't go too low. And every single time you'd break it, like, the computer character would be like, oh no, line break! So we'd get up right next to him and be like, oh no! Line break! Just like the most shameful thing ever. It's like, not only is the computer shaming me, the people next to me are shaming me.
That same kid, there was this one time. I mean, I kind of feel bad because I know that people pestered this kid, but I was never one of the people, but I was there to witness it, and I'm sorry, regardless of how bad I may feel, there's some things you just see, they're just kind of funny. He was trying to show me, we had this one friend named Brandon.
Well, he was really actually like the nicest person in the world. It's just like he would just do silly things that there was just no way of getting around, like, slightly making fun of it.
I would just kind of, there's one time where this one friend of mine I had named Brandon, he would just pester this guy. I mean, they were like best friends, but he'd pester the fuck out of him. That's
what I mean. Like, a lot of people were like, they were like best friends with him, but there was still that slight bit of enjoyment.
I remember this. This is the sad thing. This isn't like middle school or anything. This is fucking high school. And there was like, he was trying to show us the end to like Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast. He was trying to show us the end, the final battle to that.
I thought this was on Bounty Hunter. Or maybe that was at your house.
No, this was...
Was that the one where like he clogged the toilet and then you had to go clean it out?
That's something else. I don't know. That's someone else. I don't even know what that is.
I thought that was Brandon.
Maybe that was Brandon, but no, that was on Bounty Hunter.
And then he just went back and started playing Bounty Hunter again?
That's what happened. Yeah. Oh, that motherfucker. Yeah. He's like, I beat the Tatooine level, comes in. That's what happened. Willy was showing us the end of Jedi Outcast. He got to the final boss, and he was showing us. He wanted to show us the ending, and he was having trouble beating the bat. He was having trouble beating the guy, and he was like, I need to really concentrate, guy. Just be really quiet. And then Brandon, like, just went like. He's just one of these guys. I can't really explain it. He would just make noises. I really can't explain
really good at doing these noises. He would yells just go like, and sounds.
He would just go, just like to piss someone off, just the wrong point. Like, I remember, like, in one point, like, in like, because we had this guy in our multimedia class, and he would somehow just fuck with the teacher, and just like as soon as it got quiet, everyone was just quiet down. It took 3 minutes to get there. Then suddenly Brandon would just go at the top of his lungs, like some primal scream, just like just at the top of his fucking lungs in the middle of class. It was what you always do.
I always felt so bad because I really feel like some of this stuff was like what like brought Mr. Campbell to the end of his life. Like, there was just this stress buildup from like having to deal with these kids who were having maybe a little too good of a time.
Well, it's funny because he was like a very like optimistic, enthusiastic teacher. Really liked teaching what he was teaching. But then, like, by the end of the class, by the end of the year, he would just sit there with his arms crossed, like, I don't give a fuck. I am like 1 year away from retirement. I don't.
You make your fucking movies. We'll play them. Call it a day. Fuck you guys. I'm not going to teach you how to make a website. I'm not going to teach you how to make a podcast. I'm not going to teach you how to take a photo. You just want to make fucking movies. Fuck you. Make your movie.
Pretty much.
Without saying that.
He was cool to me, though. He always...
No, yeah, I know, yeah, he was, like, I think because me and you were, like, his two, like, prime students.
Yeah, they were just really...
And then there was a couple other people that were sort of in the good category, and then there was a lot of others that were sort of, like, the heathens.
Yeah, Brandon was... He would always be in our stuff, but he was definitely the heathen. But anyway, so he'd do that kind of shit with Willy, too. So Willy's playing this video.
Back to Jedi Outcast.
And he's having trouble being the final boss. And Brandon just reaches the point where he just goes, he just like sneaks up behind him when he's playing. He just goes, wah! Just at the top of his lungs, right in his ears. Like, fucking knock it off, Brandon! He pushes it, he's playing again. And then, like, he does it one more time. And then, like, he just pauses it, starts trying to wrestle Brandon to the ground. Brandon just, like, then holds him down, puts his mouth to his ear, just as loud as he gets, wah! Just, like, runs out of the house, just making that fucking noise. It's just one of those things. I know how fucking stupid it sounds and how primal and ridiculous it is, but just there at that moment, I'm sorry. That was just... I was like, what's so funny, Ryan? I'm sorry, dude, that's fucking funny. There's no way around that. It's just fucking funny.
There's those things like that. It's like you can't help but laugh. I remember a time that was like, it was Willy's birthday party, and... well, there's many stories in this one event, but like just one. I remember he was wrestling this big, huge stuffed bear because that was the time period where like WWF was like in its like Attitude Era and everything was like
was this like
popular time.
Like
and we were playing SmackDown too for PlayStation.
I was sure if like he was wrestling a guy like in a furry costume or if he was just like wrestling just a bear.
Like one of those stuffed animal bears. It's about like 3 feet tall or so, and he's like slamming it around. He's making all the sound effects and whatnot. And I remember I was eating this big bowl of, I want to say it was like Golden Grams or what's the what? It's kind of like a
honeycombs.
It's not honeycombs.
Crackhead, like little like honeycombs. That thing running around.
No, they weren't honeycombs.
Golden Smacks.
No, not Smacks. They're kind of like fluffy, sort of like they got kind of like when you bite into them, they kind of like squeeze down like a marshmallow, but they're not a marshmallow.
Kicks.
Not Kick. They're similar to Kicks, but not Kicks. And Kicks aren't sticky, I don't think. Or they're not that sticky.
Kicks. I always saw them. I just looked at them like, oh, fuck that. I never had I just saw that cereal. I'm like, oh, fuck it. Not interesting.
Fuck. Well, I want to say there's
cereal.
something.
You're having some honey.
Some sticky, soft cereal. I'm eating this giant bowl.
I mean, Golden Grams or...
Are Golden Grams...
The frog?
Are they the square ones?
Golden Grams are like the graham cracker ones, the square ones, or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Huh? I'm just very fucking invested. What cereal were you eating for like 12
years? Like, this is the most important part of the story. For fuck's sake. Golden Grams.
Now you got a computer in front of you. We could just actually fact check now.
No, not fucking Golden Grams. Definitely not Golden Grams. I don't know.
Honey Smacks.
Something. Whatever, something sticky or whatever. And he's wrestling this fucking bear, slamming it down left and right, got it in headlocks. He's jumping off the fucking second story of the bunk bed down the ground. And I'm eating this giant bowl. I mean, I'm just going at it. When you were a kid and you pour yourself like half a box with like the whole thing in there, you're pretty much just carb loading. Well, he takes this bear and he swings it around and it just hits the bowl and fucking sticky cereal flies all over his bedroom, like everywhere. Fucking half a box worth of fucking golden something. And I don't think anybody cleaned that up. I don't know who cleaned it up, but it was just everywhere. Just stuck to I want to say we found it like weeks later. You could still find traces of this.
I just imagine, like, just from the hallway, you hear, like, oh no, you're like, Dad, Willy! Just down the hallway, you hear, like, a belt coming off.
You sort of would hear that. Oh, those great stories of Willy. I remember one time that me and another friend were, like, spending the night at his house, and we were on the bottom of, like, the bunk bed, and he was on the top.
This shit.
And we, like, kicked the bed up from below so the mattress popped up while he was on it. It just scared the living daylights out of him. I think at the same time I had this like Velcro watch and I kept ripping it each time, going rit, 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 rit. And he's like, and he's like, what's that sound? I'm like, I don't know, man. It must be from outside. Rit, 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 rit. And I kept doing that over and over. And
This poor kid, man. This poor kid.
And it's like, well, it's one's like, I always think of it's like, you know, like everybody who's like friends with him, they all like hanging out with him, they all like going to his house, but I think it was just like, sometimes it's just somebody you just, when they make it slightly easy, you just kind of say things. It's just like, almost like the joke set up, all you have to do is do the punchline and you're there.
Not to be a dick, but he was basically Butters from South Park.
Yeah, he was the Butters.
Yeah.
Speaking of Star Wars, though, in the last while, I've been playing a bunch of Star Wars games over again. I started with playing, I played both the fucking Force Unleashed games, because I never played those. And I was like, I want to play one. Well, I went back and I watched all 6 Star Wars movies again, and I watched them from 1 to 6, which I've never done that before, strangely enough. I either watched them 4 to 6, or I watched them individually. And I know I kind of talked about this on a previous podcast, but then I was like, fuck, I need a new game. I'm going to go get Force Unleashed. So I bought both of those games. And, you know, I paid like $12 for both of them. It was a great deal.
I remember paying like 20, like just 20 or 30 bucks for just one of them.
Didn't you? I thought you bought Force Unleashed when it came out.
Not right when it came out. Like probably like 3 or 4 months when it came out. And then
I just started going through like I found an Xbox at the flea market for $10, an old one, because somehow, some way, my original Xbox like crapped out. Like when I got it back from Kyle, I went to start it up, and then the disk drive wasn't working anymore.
Did you just open it and like just chew fell out?
No, that's what I was kind of waiting for.
You know?
I literally fucking went in there and unscrewed the whole thing and took it apart and cleaned it all out and everything like that, and I just couldn't get to work.
I remember there was actually the original Xbox. If you took out the green little circle with the Xbox logo, there was a coaster for your Mountain Dew.
Was there really? Well, I guess you put any drink in there. It's about
any
the size
drink.
of a
I'm
can.
saying Mountain Dew just because of just the usual like hardcore Xbox Live fan, or I guess you're whatever. But yeah, I remember like me and my friend David Ward. He had it like, what the fuck? He realized the thing snapped. He could pull off. He just pulled it off. He was literally just sticking like whatever drink he could, and they're like, check this out! Isn't this fucking awesome? Like, awesome
right.
is nothing
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, if it spills,
do they have an insurance policy on this thing? Yeah.
I know. And you know, because like the thing about the 360 is like, okay, it plays a lot of Xbox games, right? But there's always a handful, and it's kind of that weird thing, you know. If there was 10 games and say 7 of them played on the 360 and only 3 of them did it, those 3 would make you so pissed for some reason. It's like you're not grateful for the 7 that already were. It's those 3. You're like, okay, I can play Halo and I can play Shenmue and I can play Crimson Skies, but why the fuck can't I play Crazy Taxi?
I really want to play Brutal Force for some reason. I just really want to play that one.
Yeah,
remember that one? There's like that game was like such a big deal when it came out that got quickly forgotten though.
I do remember it. I never played it, but I remember it. Did you ever play that Star Wars, like the Obi-Wan game for Xbox? It was only for Xbox?
No, I didn't. I was kind of curious. Didn't you would control like the lightsaber with just one of the analog sticks?
Yeah, like the right joystick, you would use it to swing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, for some reason I remember that game getting kind of crappy reviews, and now I played this in a video game store, and what I've learned in life is just because you played in a video game store for like 5 to 10 minutes does not necessarily mean that the game's amazing. Because in those 10 minutes,
the Matrix taught us that.
Yeah, I remember because I played Enter the Matrix I played it in like a little local video game store for about 10 minutes. I'm like, man, this is fucking awesome. And I told this other guy at school, I'm like, dude, you gotta get Enter the Matrix. It's fucking badass. And he comes back the next day and he's like, I beat it in 3.5 hours. It was fun for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing. I even had the game. I had the game for like probably between Matrix 2 and 3 came out, and I beat it like the night before I went to go see Matrix 3, and I had it for that long just because it was just kind of like, well, you know, it was really fun the first 20 minutes, and then I just kind of slowly just like, I don't know, you know? But then I found myself just playing it for the story, because I'm a huge Matrix buff, so I just want to know all the little filler stuff. But even that, I still didn't really give a shit at the end of the day with that story.
Well, sometimes those ones you feel like you're going to be missing out on this big story thing, and then sometimes you play some of those games and it's like, well, I didn't feel like I learned that much more.
I don't really care. I mean, you know, I think that Ghost was kind of cool, and yeah, we already saw it a lot in Niobe, but for the most part, it was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were saying, you're...
Oh, but so, like, the one game I couldn't play was Battlefield. I couldn't play Star Wars Battlefield on the 360 for some reason. Or Battlefront.
Oh, I love Battlefront. That is
I keep getting so confused between Battlefield, because there's those Battlefield games now, and the Battlefront for the Star Wars. They're making a new Battlefront game.
They are. EA is doing it. Originally, I mean, I kind of...
Yeah, it's not LucasArts, so who knows what that means, but...
Well, I actually had no idea, but they were talking about Battlefront 3 for a long time, and they have, like, this, it was like and works this like for the 360 like this like work in progress kind of video for it, and I was like, let's check this out. Like, holy shit, and it just looked amazing. But then like, oh yeah, that's canceled. We don't know what's gonna happen to it. So it looked like they had a lot done for it, but yeah.
Well, they're making something now. I don't know. It seems kind of strange to play a Star Wars game that's not LucasArts. Mm-hmm. That's just me. I guess it's just kind of growing up with LucasArts, because really, they made a lot of damn good games,
I'm curious to know what you thought of. I mean, look, Force Unleashed had its problems, but it wasn't a horrible game. People made it out to be like it was god-awful, but I thought it had problems. I thought it was a fun game. What did you think of it?
I'll say this. I mean, like, it's kind of hard, because whenever
it's fun just to dick around, like, move shit around.
I mean, I literally paid $3.50 for the first one. Mm-hmm. The second one was $12. So it's when you pay only like that price, it's pretty hard to complain about a game. Like, I could see where somebody paid $60 and they'd go, fuck, that game was over in like 7 hours or something like that, and really, you could play it over again. They kind of got New Game Plus, if I remember correctly. I kind of just went to the second one, but I could see where somebody might be kind of bummed there. I mean, I play enough games, though, where I notice that sometimes you just get an 8-hour game and that's all it is, and, not all our games can be a Gears of War or like a Red Dead Redemption where you get a lot more content in them.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, I love the Force Unleashed. I thought it was fun. You gotta throw shit around. It kind of played like Jedi Power Battles, just single player. There really wasn't nothing to complain about. And the first one, I think the unlockables are kind of better in the first one. The second one kind of played a little bit more smoother.
A part that I absolutely hate, it's a part they advertise so much, and I don't know, I guess this is like one of those, this is going to sound like such a nerd complaint, but I guess there's the part where you bring down the Star Destroyer with the Force. And even though that's kind of a cool idea, it's just like, what's stopping you from killing like Darth Vader from the other room, or him still doing the same to you, or anything like that?
Yeah, exactly.
And then at the same time, that kind of stuff. Every so often, they'll advertise something like that, and like, isn't that cool? It's like, well, you can only do it because the game's fucking letting you do it. So it kind of takes away some of what's cool about it in the first place, especially since you're just like rotating joysticks the whole time. You have to stop and fucking take out some fucking TIE fighters and do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. It's sort of like those ones when you see that, you're like, well, why doesn't, like, did you go to the Death Star in the first one, or was that in the second one?
It's like halfway built, and you fight Vader.
Well, yeah, it's like, if he has that amount of power, why does he just go in the Death Star and just concentrate and stand in the fucking center and just smash everybody around him?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you want to get really technical, but you go like, yeah.
I look at it like this. It's a video game, so I'll let that kind of slide. If it was maybe a movie, that might be a little much, I guess.
Yeah.
But in a video game, it's like, there is that kind of like, the suspension of disbelief is just, you could do something that's like maybe like a little out there, but for gameplay's sake, it's just a really cool idea. The one thing I think though about it is it does feel like Star Wars made for like amped up kids that like on Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's like those ones like for me, it's like my Jedi Power Battles is enough for me, or swinging the lightsaber around in fucking Dark Forces 2. Like, that was pretty cool enough.
Not to sound like a fogey old man, but you look at kind of like the old Star. I'm actually, when I first saw like the Star, even though I like them, not as much as the originals, of course, but even though I like the prequels, I'm almost I still kind of like my old fashioned, just kind of like old dudes with lightsabers in the originals, or like not even old dudes, like just like that standard old fashioned kind of like swordplay. I kind of like that. I mean, now they're doing like kung fu stuff and bouncing around everywhere, and that's cool and all. But I almost kind of just like the simplicity of it more back in the original ones. Now that I'm a little older, it's kind of weird. It's
kind of like, it's more of like a simple fencing / like samurai battle,
and you don't see that too often. But I guess
and like the way that George Lucas kind of explains it in the special features makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. He's all okay when Luke and Darth are fighting, like in say 5 and 6. Well, here's the thing: Darth Vader's practically a machine, and he's getting older by now, so he's already slower. And then Luke himself, he's still really kind of like, in a sense, like a Padawan, because he just kind of has some very informal training.
Yeah, exactly.
When you really break it down, it's kind of like he learns.
The floating sphere was more of a teacher than Ben.
Well, yeah, on
a
fucking
sphere that would shoot him.
Really, he learns all the basic stuff of his Jedi training, like in one fucking road trip. And then, I do think about it, like, between 4 and 5, technically, he's probably learning from Obi-Wan Kenobi, his spirit, in a sense. He's probably still training him like that. It doesn't show in the movies, obviously, but
Green Muppet.
Yeah, and well, then later on, even the Yoda training too. It's like, I mean, how long is he fucking there for? Like 2 days? Like a fucking weekend?
And don't take me like
is he like literally the weekend warrior of like Jedi's? It's not. He's like, you know what I mean?
On a space iPod.
He's like, yeah. He's like, you know, I'm a Jedi on the weekends, but I work a regular day job Monday through Friday.
No, but like, I'm not. Don't think I'm like looking like, why is it like this in one movie and not like the other movies? Like, I know there's technological advances, and I get that. I fully understand. He doesn't even need to explain. I get it, but it makes sense if you want to fit it into continuity. I just almost this day, the more older I get, I mean, it just sounds kind of dumb because I know I'm still fairly young, but the older I get, I almost kind of like the simplicity. I don't need some amazing, gigantic space battle. I don't really need like all this crazy visual effects. Almost just the standard kind of like old school fencing. I think is almost kind of cooler than all this like really stylized flipping around, chucking shit at each other kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of
I
like...
understand why they do it. They're going to do it in the next one. That's fine. I'm not complaining. It's just almost, the retro-ness of it I just kind of enjoy.
Well, it's almost kind of like that goes back to the Force Unleashed. Is that one just does feel like it
That's
feels
too
like
much.
it feels like a Star Wars game though for another generation. That's how I kind of feel like. And I'm not even talking about. It's not even the generation that even grew up on like 1, 2, and 3. It's almost for like the next generation after that. That's kind of how I feel. And I'm not really complaining. Like as I said, it's a damn fine game. I had a great time with it. I really like the story. It played well. It's got a level up system in a sense. There's nothing I can really complain. And then the second one, now I could see where you could bitch about the second one if you bought it for $60 because the game is literally like 3.5 hours.
The second one's even shorter.
Oh, it's about half the length of the first one.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me.
I'll kid you not, though.
I thought the second one, they'd amp, because how many complaints the first one get? You think the second one, they'd amp it all up and fix it up or some shit.
Well, yeah, it's the weird thing that it's like, it plays smoother, and it's like one of those ones, like, it's a great ride for about 3.5 hours, and then it's just over. And I kind of knew that going into it. As I said, I paid $12 for it, so I was like, for $12, you can't complain, you know what I mean? But I could see where if you paid $60, you'd be like, the fuck?
In the second one, they actually give him a name. They call him Star Killer, right?
I call him that in the first one, too.
I thought he was just the assassin. I thought he was like some nameless character in the first one.
No, they call him Star Killer in the first one. The second
I thought
one...
it was cool how they go with the original name that was in from
Luke Skywalker?
From his first script, yeah. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Which is kind of like, when I think about that name, it's like, how the hell do you make the main character like this really good guy, and his name is fucking Star Killer?
Well, originally, I mean, this is just...
I guess this was one's like, boy, he really is trying to live up to that name.
Well, originally, I'm kind of curious. I read somewhere what they're going to do is they're actually going to adapt Lucas's original script into a comic, like his original straight first draft script into a comic book.
Well, that'd be pretty sweet.
And that right there, basically, he almost kind of like Luke and Ben Kenobi were kind of the same character originally, from what I heard. Because
yeah, well, I see them in like the special features.
He was like an old, washed-up general. So, and I thought, so I think that's kind of a cool idea right there. So I'm kind of curious to see what this original script would have been,
Well, I do think that comic books is a perfect medium for like taking all like those great ideas that people have, whether they be first draft of scripts, whether they be of scripts that are never made into an actual movie. Like, make a fucking comic book out of it. Why not? Mm-hmm. It's like if you got material, might as well use it.
Yeah,
and then you can at least in a comic books, in a sense, it's a cheap way to sort of get a huge production story out there,
And that when they first said they were doing that...
You could probably tell it in 7 or 8 issues, if give or take.
One sec, my roommate's cat wants out of the room. 1 second.
Okay, you go and do that.
The fuck you want? Come on, let's go.
Get that cat out of there.
Come on, go. One out, go.
This cat gone.
Wasn't that fun? All right.
Oh, boy, that was exciting. Am I watching of Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3 again? I probably like the second one more than I've ever liked it from watching it. I watched it, I was like, you know what? Okay, yeah, it might be a little bit slow in about the dead center of the movie or so. But I was like, I fucking enjoyed the hell out of that movie this time I watched it. I was almost like, I would say it's a 3.5 out of 4. That's how good I liked it,
It's been probably at least 2 years since I've seen it, but it's not even like I hate it. I just that's my least favorite. It's one of those. Here's how they kind of go on a scale for me. The original trilogy, always I mean, if you look at anything long enough, you can see the flaws. But generally, when it gets down to it, original trilogy, just that's fine. I have no real complaint for the
Well,
original.
the way that I've always said the original trilogy, they're all 4 out of 4 movies. It's just a personal preference which one you like more.
That's how I feel too.
Yeah.
Now, Phantom Menace, that one is one where it's like it's got problems, and I mean there are some major flaws in it, but it's ultimately I think an enjoyable movie. The third one I think is actually a pretty strong movie for the most part, just story wise. Just the way it was made though, those graphics, and the same thing for number 2. The visual effects, since everything's done on a blue screen. When it first came out, it looked great, but that stuff can look dated so quickly with how much technology jumps forward. So 2 and 3, they don't really look as good as when they first came out. And then on top of that, number 2, I think is the weakest of the stories, just because when I think back and when I look what I like about number 2, I like Jango Fett, and I like the very end of the battle, the very last battle of the movie. And that when that movie came out, I was like 14. It's like, oh, Natalie Portman wearing barely nothing for a good portion of the movie. That's awesome. But now I'm an adult, so I don't really give a shit. So,
I will say though that I actually think that almost number 3 though is almost on par with 4, 5, and 6. I think it's like when I watched it, I was like, man, because strange enough, it's been a while since I saw Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I probably haven't watched a Star Wars movie in about 4 years till just recently. Mm-hmm. I guess I just took a break, because sometimes there's those sort of things like, you see the movie so many times, you can quote it left and right, you can name the characters off right off the top of your head, and then strange enough, if you look back, you go, man, when was the last time I watched it though? It's been so long, but I've seen it so many times, it's still pretty fresh in my mind.
That was a movie when actually all the Star Wars films, when I first got them. I mean, the original trilogy, yeah, I could. It's been a while since I watched them, but you know those off the top of your head, nearly every line. As far as the other ones go, there was a point though. I kind of have this thing where as soon as I get a movie, like a year or 2 years, I watch that movie a fuck ton. I haven't watched that movie in so long now. Like for instance, one of those movies like that for me was Snatch. I remember for 1 year I watched that movie so many times on and off. And I would just put that movie and go to sleep. But I watched it the other day, and I was just like, oh, yeah, I kind of forgot how much I used to watch this movie. It's been so long since I've seen this thing.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's kind of like music. You almost you'll take a band that you really get into, and you'll just rape the fuck out of their collection. You will literally just bend it over and fuck it. No. But you'll get so
the crew. Yeah.
I mean, to the point where, you almost kind of you heard the song so much you almost have to take a break. And then you take a break, whether it be a year or a couple of years even, and then sometimes you come back and you go, man, I remember exactly why I love this so much. Mm-hmm. And that same thing can be said of movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, those Star Wars movies, as I said, it was been so long since I watched them, and I'll tell you this, I just had a hell of a time with the first 3. I almost, if you would have asked me prior to that, I would have been like, well, the original ones are amazing. And then the first 3, they're really good, but they're not nearly as good. I was almost getting close to saying, you know what, disincluding the classic factor, I don't think they're that far off. I actually liked them just almost as much as 4, 5, and 6. And I know some people might go, oh, that's blasphemy. But I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I'll say probably this. I would just say they're at least, if the original trilogy is a 4 out of 4, the prequel ones I'd say at least are a 3.5 out of 4. Well, they might have a couple small flaws, but fuck it.
Jar Jar's the obvious one, but I'll skip Jar Jar. I won't even go into Jar Jar. Jar Jar.
And then Anakin, Mr. Jingle all the way kid.
Well, no, I'm not even going to mention Jar Jar, because by this point, talking about Jar Jar, that's almost like saying Nickelback jokes. There's so many. What's the point by this point?
Yeah.
But as far as that one goes, it's mainly. I mean, I'm not even going to say it's so much the kid's acting, even though I don't think he is that good of an actor. I think it's mainly just. Whatever the kid, Jingle, like you said, Jingle all the way boy. That kid.
That's where I first saw him at.
That kid, and basically, it's his lines, his delivery, and on top of that, it's just kind of things like just the logic of it. And people throw this chosen one bullshit out there, and I get that, but that only works for so long. Okay, so the kid won at pod racing, good for him. All right, but then he accidentally gets into a spaceship, accidentally takes off into space. Accidentally just flying around, taking out these other like Android, like there's all these trained pilots. They don't know what the fuck to do, but this kid accidentally.
Some of these trained pilots can't even fucking fly out of the hangar before they're shot down.
And this kid accidentally flies in there, destroys the generator while looking for the fucking steering wheel, and then like, oh, time to go. So,
is able to fly.
Here's the thing.
I do think that scene would be much better if he fucking jumped in there and he's like, oh, okay, so here's this switch, there's this, and he almost like figured it out really quickly because technically he's supposed to be Anakin Skywalker. He's supposed to be a genius in a sense.
There is the chosen one thing, but the thing is, you give him a reason to be chosen one, just like, oh well, fate fucking decided. Show me smart, make him seem smart, give him. And like on top of that, like compare with everybody else, like how pouty he was in the second one. Third one wasn't so bad. The second one, though, he was so fucking pouty. It was just kind of...
Yeah, he a little pouty. I will say that in the second one. But, I don't know what it is. I was just like, maybe it's just one of those things. Like, the older I get, the more I just seem pretty lenient on everything. It's just like, I look at it for what it is, and I don't like... And I think a lot of people, they do that thing where they go like, well, if I made Star Wars, this would it be like? And it's kind of like, it's George Lucas's film. He created it, and I just kind of accept it for what it is. And then, I'll take in my other universe stuff, and I always look at it's like, okay, I got my video games that expand on everything and whatnot.
And don't take this as like there's a point like when I was younger where that would really bother me a lot. Well, when it first came out, it was like this weird. There's this three like level point. There's that age where anything with Star Wars on it, you loved it because it had the name Star Wars attached to it. So you're like, I can't go against Mr. Lucas. It's on there. He approved it, So there's this thing I can't see. But then you get this point where you just get kind of like, nah, man, the prequel's fucking sold out, this and that, and yada yada. And then I kind of reached this other point, like probably like that was probably early college, and now I'm at this point where I'm just like, well. They're not perfect, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And they actually, if you just take them at face value, they can be enjoyable. And there's no reason, because, people talk about, like, I don't know if I can trust Star Wars anymore. But it's just like, it's a fucking film franchise. It's not a person, So it's going to be, there's going to be another one. There's going to be more of them. A few of them are going to be good, I'm sure. So if you're going to be making one or two of these things every year, at least a good handful of them are probably going to be decent.
Yeah.
Say what you will about like Disney, but they're evil, but they're smart evil motherfuckers. So
yeah, that is true. They are smart. And, you got to look at it like, I guess, and they also have the money to back up any idea, and if they approve it first. But
exactly
in Star Wars I always look at it this way. It's not like it's fucking Die Hard or something where it's, it'd be like one of those ones where it's like, oh, they're gonna tone the fuck out of it down. Even though I guess we did have that Die Hard. What's a better example? It's not like it's
Expendables 3, even though we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, well, okay, it's not like it's The Matrix, because at least The Matrix never got toned down. Where it's like, oh, okay, well, now they're making PG Matrix.
Oh, yeah. They mentioned a possible new Matrix trilogy that's not a reboot or anything, just like a continuation. So
yeah, I heard about that. I'm really excited if that's true.
And I'm not trying to be condescending. I want to get back to Star Wars in a second, but I want to say this real quick. I'm kind of curious about that, because now that Matrix might happen, I mean, like, even though I'm interested in everything the Wachowski brothers make, and I like every movie. The only movie of theirs I have not seen is Bound, but I actually like every other movie they've made, even though the only movie other people seem to like is Matrix. Matrix 1. And yeah. I'm kind of surprised. I'm not saying Speed Dick. I'm kind of surprised they keep getting money after how many people dislike their movies. I mean, and I'm a huge fan of their stuff, and I want to see anything they make. And if their name's attached to it, I mean, I saw the trailer for Speed Racer. I was like, I don't know. But then I actually went to saw the movie because their names are attached to it, and I actually really liked it. I know it's not perfect, but I still really enjoyed it. So with a movie like Jupiter Ascending, that movie looks expensive as fuck, and I just want to know who keeps giving them money.
Yeah, who's putting? I mean, they must be making enough money that they're not like.
Or there must be someone in Warner Brothers who really kind of sees like, all right, these guys, maybe they have a niche crowd, but at least that maybe he's looking at more of an artsy kind of angle,
Well, probably too. There is that kind of like one. It's like, well, we get an artsy movie under our belt. We can say that. Two, they probably still make it. They probably still make a profit. It's one of those ones like sometimes people do the thing if the movie doesn't make like 3 times more money than it costs to make it, then it's fucking shit. But a lot of these movies are still walking away with, a $40+ million profit plus royalties from there on out.
So, I loved Cloud Atlas. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and Cloud Atlas, that was the only movie I saw there that I wasn't that big of a fan of. And I guess the thing, too, is I thought I was going to really like it. And then I just, for some reason, it was okay. Like, there's parts I really liked, but I don't know.
I only saw it once.
It didn't captivate me enough, I guess.
I love that flick. Well, and plus at the same time, it was like a very ballsy movie. It was a movie that was very different. It wasn't trying to go by a standard formula, and that's what I almost kind of like this day and age. I almost kind of respect someone who's going into like I mean, I know it's still gonna be entertaining, and I still found it entertaining, but just going in, it's just a different angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do like some of the things he was going for. I guess it's one of those ones. It was I'm not saying it was bad, but it just and then maybe there's that high expectation sort of. But I went in there and just went, it's okay. You know,
when does Jupiter Ascending come out? Because
I want to say that like there's just a rape ton of movies that come out at the end of July. Because I want to say there's that movie, there's Guardians of the Galaxy, there's fucking Hercules, there's
they're playing Queens of the Stone Age in the trailer to that.
To the Hercules.
Yeah, that was like some electric version of like. It's like, we take these pills to swallow. Bow, bow, bow. You know, quick cuts to like the beat.
No, there's just like a ton of movies though that come out in July.
Directed by Brett Ratner.
Brett Ratner. You know, speaking of Brett Ratner, I just watched Rush Hour again, and that's another one of those movies. Like, I watched a fuck ton of that movie when it came out. Like, I saw it in theaters. It was one of the first movies I got on DVD, and I just remember watching it so many times. And then I probably haven't watched it in 6-7 years from now.
And you can still go like, can't believe this bullshit.
Yeah.
Mr. Rice-A-Roni can't even speak proper American.
It's
just like the small lines like
you
that.
You put your own shit in the bag. I'm not SkyCap. I'm FBI. You understand? Yeah. No, it's like that movie's
John Wayne, hang out the Duke. You know,
John Wayne? Like, just like home, man. No, that's one of those movies, like, yeah, as I said, I can quote that movie without even having to watch it in such a long time.
The hell you expect me to do? Take him to the zoo? You know, just like those kind of lines like that, you know?
And, strangely enough, that movie, I think, is Jackie Chan's first American movie.
Really? I thought we would have like one or two before that.
I mean, some people, I think that Rumble in the Bronx is because he's in New York.
That's a Chinese movie.
But it's still a Chinese movie, so there's that. And that's the only one I can think of that's close. Now, as I said, there might be another one, but I really think that's his first. If anything, that's his first movie that put him in like the big spotlight of being like an American actor, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's one of those movies. Like, yeah, 2 and 3 got problems, but I really consider the first one to be like a perfect like buddy cop movie. That's like just as good as Lethal Weapon. You know, that's as good. That's just kind of one of those. Yeah, that's just an all around awesome movie. I have no complaints for that one at all.
Well, I just think that movie. I consider it like the definitive action comedy. Like, it literally gives you a ton of action and a ton of comedy all in one picture. It's all well written. It's just like it all works out well. And
it's also one of those. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then the second and third ones, they kind of just more run off the same ideas, and the second one I think sort of works because they're in Hong Kong, and like you get to see it in Jackie Chan's world, but.
Well, the problem with the second one and the third one is every Rush Hour movie, it goes by the same beats. The one person they go to trust is the one person who ends up fucking them over. And in 2 and 3, actually even the third one, they all have something to do with Lee's past. They never really go into Carter's past. It's always about Lee. And by the time you get to like number 3, it just kind of like, can't we expand on Carter? Maybe something with him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The first one, it was the case his father died on. The second one, it was the guy who killed his. No, first one, guy who killed his father. Second one, the case his father died on, and the third one, it was like his long lost half brother or something that he went to school with, and so that was just kind of like they all just kind of follow the same path. Plus the second, third one, by that point, they're just kind of like they're almost making room for jokes. They're almost kind of stopping the movie for jokes. Yeah. Rather than like just kind of like with the first one, we just kind of flow. Here's a funny joke. Let Chris Tucker improvise something for a second. Okay, that worked. That was funny. Move on. Those ones just kind of they stop the movie just for the sake of just, I don't know, let's have them sing Thriller for a second. Not Thriller, but some Michael Jackson song.
Yeah, some Michael Jackson song. Well, going back to movies though, it's like, okay, I'm looking in July. Okay, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is also another one's coming out that just looks amazing. And then once you get to fucking August, you got the new Sin City, you got Expendables 3. I mean, there's practically almost a movie at least every week, if not every other week. Worth seeing.
I saw like Transformers 4 the other day, or actually last night.
And how was that one?
Kind of a letdown actually. It was one of those things like I know that I'm kind of saying that like, man, because Transformers 3 was so great, but no, it was one of those things. I thought I was kind of gonna get everything I wanted out of this one because like, okay, well, Shia LaBeouf's on in it. We got Mark Wahlberg, who's a much like because he's one of my favorite actors. I'm like, okay, Mark Wahlberg's in this. That's awesome. But then everybody else in it though, it kind of because I knew I wasn't gonna be getting like anything amazing so much. I thought maybe this might bring it up a little bit, but it was kind of one of those things where because like Mark Wahlberg's fine, but everybody around Mark Wahlberg, all the human characters around him, kind of like they all equal to like a Shia LaBeouf pretty much. Everybody in that movie except Mark Wahlberg was kind of annoying. I even like Stanley Tucci, and his character was just annoying and kind of like a Steve Jobs ripoff, more or less. So, who ends up having a conscience later by the end of the movie. But it was just one of those things that just it didn't really have as much comedy as the other ones did, which was good. But at the same time, there were these moments that kind of stopped dead center, like these robots would be like smacking the fuck out of each other. There'd be all the explosions about the robots fighting. Then suddenly we cut to like just humans just trying to avoid death, which I'm sorry, I'm far more interested in seeing the robots fucking duke it out.
Well, the way I look at that is like, we have enough movies out there where humans are trying to avoid death. It's like, it's kind of like when you get Transformers, just focus on the Transformers. Who the fuck cares about the humans? Like, we don't get enough movies that have giant robots in it, you know what I mean?
Well, my thing is, like, I even knew that going in, the humans are still going to be probably bigger than the robots. I knew that, but I thought the robot, by this point, they'd be more focused on the robots than they were before. But this one was still just kind of like, there'd be moments they were traveling with. I mean, the core concept is a really good story. The core concept's an interesting idea, which is, I mean, I never really grew. I mean, I saw Transformers as a kid. I was never really the biggest fan of it. Not that I disliked it. I just never really got into it. But I know like certain characters. By this point, most of the characters I know are either like dead or like from the other movies. Like they actually killed them killing Ratchet at the beginning. Like that's pretty fucking brutal. But okay.
Huh.
But like the only two characters by this point that I knew were in it were like Optimus and Bumblebee. Everybody else, I don't know who the fuck they are. And then Megatron's sort of in it. He becomes Galvatron, which that's a character.
That happens in the movie, like the 1984 movie.
Because he died in the third one, but then they create this new thing called with the remaining. Because what's happening? This is kind of an interesting concept. Like the core concept's interesting. There's like this because of the third one, there's this big war that happens. All the Decepticons come and just fuck shit up, kill a bunch of humans. So in this one, what's going on is all the robots are outlawed. Not just like Decepticons, but like all the robots. So the government is going.
They're outlawed. Like who is out there enforcing this? Like, I'm sorry, giant robot, but you're not allowed to be here.
They're going after him with guns, like specialty-made weapons for them. And
is somebody out there telling Starscream what he can and can't do?
Starscream's dead by this point.
Oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
Did Starscream have a really high-pitch, annoying voice?
Not exactly. It was. You can kind of hear remnants of it. It was more of kind of like, I remember like in the cartoon Starscream, because that was one of the characters in it. He'd be like, Lord Megatron. We're in this one. It was
exactly. That's literally his voice in the old ones.
This one was like Lord Megatron. It was more like that, more kind of like Igor-ish. But yeah. What was I gonna say? He's dead, but he dies in the third one. Like most of the characters die in the third one. They're barely fighting any Decepticons in this one.
Now
there's a bunch of
you said that what's his name died in the third one? Fucking
Ironhide?
No, not Ironhide. The main bad guy.
Megatron?
Yeah, Megatron. Like in the 1984 movie, it's kind of funny because like Starscream gets this like empowerment move, and he's like he kicks fucking Megatron out of a spaceship or whatever, and then like Unicron finds him and turns him into Galvatron.
Oh, okay. What happens here? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's just kind of funny because Starscream just gets pissed off and he's just like, "I'll kick you out of here."
I'm tired of shit, Lord Megatron.
Yeah, fuck you, Lord Megatron.
No, but what's happening here is because like a lot of the characters from the third, by this point, of like the original characters are dead. This is one of those movies where the fourth one opens up. Like, everyone else is dead, we're the only ones left. So there's a bunch of characters from the previous films just aren't there with no explanation because they're just dead, I guess, but whatever. Anyway, so what ends up happening is since all the robots are outlawed, they're killing them, and they're taking them into this technology company owned by Stanley Tucci. They're ripping them, stripping them apart, and trying to make their own Transformers and make their own robots for the military. Through that's how Galvatron is made. It's like we were trying to make a new Optimus Prime, but it turns into like this Galvatron thing. We modeled it after Optimus, but it keeps on looking like Megatron. Isn't that weird? And then of course that through that they everything gets hacked through. Because they're still sort of alive somehow. So through that they make Stinger, they make some other robots, and the main villain, even though Galvatron's in it, the main villain is this guy. I think his name is not the Batman villain, Lockout, I think.
That sounds kind of familiar. Yeah, no, not the Batman villain. That Batman villain's amazing. I wish they would use him more often. He's like almost in nothing. But
yeah, I want him. That would be cool if they use him in a movie eventually. But anyway,
it'd be cool if they fucking use. He's barely even. He's in like a couple issues of the comic, and that's it. And one episode of the television show.
Yeah, I like them bring him in the comics. That's a good episode. But anyway, so what ends up happening is there's like this. This one we learned that there are I don't know my Transformer shit that well. There's like, I guess what they call the creators, and they created the Decepticons and the Autobots, and they didn't tell them to go at it, but they eventually kind of just formed their own society and just went at it. So, and I guess Lockout works for the creators, so he's going there to bring back Optimus because they had plans for him. So he's kind of working with the government. He's working with the government to like go after Optimus. Like, all right, you go after Optimus, and we'll give you one of these little robot seed things that jumpstart your technology. So, and that's kind of an interesting concept right there. So he's a villain who's kind of like in the middle. He's not on the Decepticons or the Autobots. He's just going after Optimus, and he's the main villain. Megatron, Galvatron, whatever. He's there for like a scene or two, but it was just mainly just kind of set up for this new trilogy. And the way the movie ends is based. Well, actually, first I want to say what really fucking pissed me off. So Marky Mark, one of my favorite actors, just because not even that he's the world's most amazing actor, he just has that charisma, and I like that one character he plays. That one character he plays is a really likable guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not saying he's a bad actor, but you know what I mean. He's not. You know what I mean. When you see him, when you see him, it's Marky Mark. But luckily, you like Marky Mark, so.
Yeah, it's like Clint Eastwood. He doesn't really character act. It's mostly just Clint Eastwood. I never really see him as anybody else. I see him as Clint Eastwood. That's why I like his movies, because I see Clint Eastwood. Speaking of Clint Eastwood, even though I haven't watched the whole thing, but like that Trouble with the Curve movie, like I think it came on after something or another I was watching the other day, and I watched the first 5 minutes. I'm like, well, I got something to do. It just starts off of him, and it just almost looks like a sequel to fucking Gran Torino if he didn't die. Because he just gets up and he's all old and he's angry, and he kicks a fucking table over in the very beginning. I'm like, oh my god, this is badass. And then he goes and he opens up the fridge and he gets a can of Spam, and he's all like, breakfast of champions, and just starts eating out of the can.
Awesome.
I was like, oh my.
Disappointed if it was anything less than that.
I will say this, I didn't see any more of that movie, but that fucking opening scene sold me on that movie. Because I was kind of watching that movie, I'm like, well, it's got Clint Eastwood in it, but I feel like, am I going to like the rest of the movie? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love Clint Eastwood.
Barrymore and whoever else, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, baseball, it's like, but I don't know, I'll tell you, that fucking opening scene, I was laughing. It was fucking like Gran Torino all over again. Clint Eastwood, old and angry.
I'll get back to the Transformers thing in a second, but I want to say this about Gran Torino. Gran Torino, I'm not sure. Do you consider that movie? I mean, I find the movie hilarious, but is it really meant to be a comedy? Because I think about that movie. And that whole movie, it's actually pretty, I guess you call it dramatic comedy, but it's pretty funny and pretty kind of like lighthearted about everything until it goes to like Rapeville at the last 20 minutes of the movie. Till like that chick gets raped. It's all pretty much kind of like
by her cousin.
There's angry Clint Eastwood. How can you hate that guy? But then once it gets to that part at the end, like, oh shit, what happened? Like a switch goes off at the end of that movie.
It really is one of those movies where I feel like I actually would say there's actually more comedy in it than actual drama.
But my question is that the comedy that you and me find funny, or is it the comedy that like just the shit like because you and me were like the only ones laughing in the theater on just.
Well, I noticed that people either think that's like one of the fucking funniest movies in the entire world, or they give me the thing where they go, "What was funny about that movie?" And then it's just like it's just one of those ones. It's like a 50-50 thing. It's pretty much either a comedy to some people or it's a very serious drama to others.
Clint Eastwood could just walk on screen and just make a facial expression and a grunt, and for whatever reason,
that's funnier than any stand-up comedian. I don't care who you are. That is Clint Eastwood's one of the best.
Like I knew I was gonna like that movie at the very beginning when they're standing in the church. And I'm a fairly liberal person, but I still found this just funny, and that's what I love about that movie. But just there's a part when they're standing in the church, he sees his stupid fucking grandkids come in. he sees his granddaughter has like a belly button ring. He has a zoom in on it, and he just
that part right there.
Fucking movie. I'm gonna love this fucking movie. There's no way around that. But no, anyway, so back to like the Transformers thing. It was one of those things like, so what's happening is so by this point the robots are outlawed, and there's this whole propaganda complaint like, if you see a robot, call the police. You know what I mean? So what's up happening is
I still really want to know, like, what do? They got a couple police officers show up. They fucking put some handcuffs on a like a fucking Decepticon and put him in the back of the fucking police car. Like
they have like a little trailer, like he sits there like it's a little wagon, like his knees up to his chest, just like dragging him to like the fucking auto yard. Like,
yeah,
okay,
like
officer.
I just really want to know, like.
They just like put them
Explain to me how they do this, because we know it's not like it's taking place in the future or anything like that.
Like it's like a wire gate on wheels. They just roll it, just padlock it shut. That's all they do.
It's just like a fucking giant radio flyer that he's sitting in the back of.
Pretty much. Now you don't go nowhere. It's like, okay, officer, I won't do no bad. You know. What happens when you illegals start coming into this country? God damn it! No, they're going after him. Like, well, they got Lockout helping them out, so that's the main thing. They got the evil like robot in the middle, just kind of going around helping them, and they also going in there with like specialty made weapons just to kill them. So they're basically killing the robots, stripping them for their parts, and then making new ones out of it. That's how Galvatron's made. That's how Stinger is made, which I don't know if Stinger is an original character, but I'm guessing so. There's so many of these fucking robots. Stinger's made someone else, and then out of that, the whatever his name, the evil robot, the bounty hunter one. Let's just call him the bounty hunter one. Lockout. He comes in. He comes in like on a giant spaceship, and he has a bunch of other robots just kind of in there. Well, near the end of the movie, Optimus goes and he frees a couple of the robots. Those couple of robots happen to be the Dinobots. So at the very end of the movie, the Dinobots kind of team up with them, and they have like a whole scene where he's like, it looks like something off a Metal album. Like they have Optimus Prime with a big ass sword riding one of the Dinobots into the battle.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So
did they make the Dinobots kind of retarded? Because like in the cartoon show, the Dinobots were pretty much like, the retards of the group.
They couldn't talk. They didn't do anything funny with them. I was wondering like that they'd be doing like silly, funny things, but no, they're just more like really primal, very angry, and just basically like Optimus is like, "You guys are gonna fucking help us," and the T-Rex one charges at him. He kicks its ass and he says, "I'm gonna kill you. You can either fucking die right here, or you can help me out." One thing I do like about them, I mean, when I think back on this movie, it's not that it's like so much worse than the other ones, because I actually like 1 and 2, not love, just like. I know they're fucking flawed. I just enjoy them. And this one's probably maybe even better. I guess I was just expecting this to be the first really good one, so when it kind of lets you down, it like, man, like, yeah, sure, the lead is a lot more likable, but everybody else is way more annoying. So,
yeah, it feels like it almost equals itself back out again.
Yeah, well, like, plus, like, because what? So anyway, I should get back to this. Mark Wahlberg, he's like basically an inventor living in Texas, trying to like put his daughter through college, and he has one of those shitty kind of daughters, one of those shitty kids who's always fucking complaining, kind of like always like, "Oh, Dad, I want to get out of here. We got to do this. We got, just one of those like characters that's
fucking
always just complaining."
Yeah, War of the Worlds kids.
Yeah, the War of the Worlds kid, exactly. War of the Worlds kid. I understand they're trying to make him the protective father, and I get this, but they're trying to make it like you're not allowed to date anybody. She has a secret boyfriend. The secret boyfriend happens to be
dating a fucking Autobot.
She's dating. That would have made the movie so much better.
Fucking Marky Mark opens the door like, "Why is this door locked, honey?" He opens it up. There's a fucking Autobot just fucking his daughter.
Not even that. Just on the bed. Just boom, boom,
bam, 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 bam.
Car alarm goes off. Then he turns around like, "What?" No, but the thing is, like,
he turns around, just fucking whips his dick out, a bunch of oil shoots at Marky Mark.
Oh my god!
Laugh track comes on. He just stands there, all pouty face, it's just dripping off his face, just going,
"Wow, wow, wow!" Like little iris zooming comes in, like credits. Next week. No, but what ends up happening is, she's like dating some, like secretly dating some guy who got like some racer kid who's like got picked up by Red Bull, and the thing is kind of like, okay, whatever.
He's like, yo, new dad.
He's Irish. That would have been a lot
Irish.
more likable. 90s woke kid would have been more likable.
Really? Is he an Irish accent? Is he like unlikable?
Yeah, he's an Irish guy.
Like, oh, hey there, father.
Well, it's more like it's almost kind of like the thing about him is, it's like I get what they're trying to do, and like. And I understand this animosity because I've had like girlfriends who had very protective fathers, so I understand the frustration what this guy's going through. But at the same time, they do it in such a shitty way. There's like no way to like the guy because it's kind of like he put his arm around the daughter right in front of him. Like, yeah, what about it? What are you gonna do? You know, I'm like, there's
what up, pops?
Yeah, and like to be a part. Not even that. Not even so much as just like, yeah, what are you gonna do about it? You want to fight me? What? You know,
I'm Irish. Like, you can't win.
No one can kill the Marky Mark. No one can kill the Marky Mark.
Yeah, well, Marky Mark is Irish, so.
Yeah, but no one can kill him though. So I'm just saying,
What if Clint Eastwood faced Marky Mark?
Clint Eastwood would win. There's no way around that, you know. But I think though they would just both stop just mutually out of respect.
Yeah.
They would just stand there and stop. It'd be kind of like if
what if fucking Marky Mark was like, hey, what are you doing in there, honey? What's that sound? He opens the door up and the Clint Eastwood's just in there. He just turns his face.
As you were, closes the door.
Yeah, this goes back. Oh boy, if she's dating anybody, she should be dating Clint Eastwood there.
He has some life experience. He could teach her some things, you know. No, but anyway, no. So what ends up happening is that he ends up, he buys a lot of junk. He ends up buying this old beat up truck. That old beat up truck happens to be Optimus Prime, and from there they just get kind of rounded into this adventure because then the cops show up at the door, like, where the fuck's the robot? This and that.
What would it be like if you're Optimus Prime? Okay, now you're this old beat-up truck. Fucking Marky Mark buys your truck. He's driving by, and he goes and picks up this old man. He's all like, it's $5 to see it, $10 to watch me jerk it. And Optimus Prime's just getting to the point like, man, is this what life's become to? Man, I just try to disguise myself as a truck, and this guy picks me up? He's fucking beating it up, just the old men. To make a couple extra bucks to pay for his daughter's like college tuition.
Oh my god, this was actually the sequel. It was two sequels. It was the next Transformers movie as well as the sequel to Boogie Nights. And it's just him on a road trip, just trying to, like Optimus Prime. He doesn't have enough. It's like almost kind of like in the mind of Optimus because he's stuck along for this road trip. He can't break his cover. He doesn't have enough energy to turn back into a robot. So he has to So we get this internal monologue. He's there, so just Marky Mark just fucking horn himself out the dudes on the fucking road. No, so what ends up happening is then after that they're like oh well, we're most wanted with you, so we got to come along on this wild and wacky adventure. So, and not wild, they actually treat it pretty serious for the most part. But and it's not even. I don't even think the movie is that bad. I just think I'm just disappointed that it wasn't as good as I was hoping it was going to be. I just thought this would be the one that fixed all the problems. But like I said, every other character that wasn't robotic was annoying in the movie, other than Marky Mark.
Well, because see, when I saw the trailer for that movie, I was like, man, maybe they're fixing it. You know what I mean?
And it's
They got rid of Megan Fox. They're getting rid of the Shia LaBeouf. You know what I mean? Like two people that nobody really likes. And then they're throwing in Marky Mark, somebody that almost everybody likes. I'm like, that sounds like a recipe for success. And we kind of live in that age now where, like, number 4 can actually be, like, almost a better movie than even number 1.
That's what I was thinking, because now we live in the age, because before it's like 1 and 2 did not do so good. Fuck it, you're not getting a third one. Now, regardless, they'll make it, and they'll keep on making them. And maybe they're not all good, but eventually, maybe by the time you reach number 3 or number 4 and 5, and they go on, which sounds ridiculous, but like the Fast and Furious movies, they got better by number 4 and on.
Well, yeah, because you get the first one, and that one's full on amazing. And then 2 and 3, they're good, but they're not like amazing. And then you get 4, 5, and 6, and it's just like, it's back to being just a fantastic movie once again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you can also, back in the day, it was almost kind of like, there was like the Jaws thing, Jaws 1's amazing, but 2, 3, and 4, they just kind of like slowly go downhill. Yeah, and that's how a lot of movies kind of were. I mean, some movies, like, if you like the series enough, like Friday the 13th, it always sounds so weird, but the best Friday the 13th is number 8. And, like, that's most of the one that you talk to any fan, and they're always
not
like, fucking hands down. No,
not number 10.
not Jason in Space. But, well, number 8 sounds weird, though, because it's called Jason Takes Manhattan. It almost sounds a little over the top.
Musical.
But it's so badass. Yeah,
it almost sounds kind of like...
Well, this Jason Takes Broadway.
It's kind of like Ernest...
That would be a fuck... Dude, I would go see that movie. Like, what if it's just Jason as he just shows up and he's just, like, killing people in musicals?
That's just, the first 10 minutes of the movie... Nothing implying it's a Friday the 13th movie. First 10 minutes, just
you think you're fucking like you're going to see kind of like a chorus line meets fucking Cats meets fucking Phantom of the Opera or something like that. I almost said the Phantom Menace.
Go back to Star Wars.
But
and Jason just comes
and then all of a sudden, fucking he just busts through the wall and just starts chopping off people's heads left and right during a musical number on stage. And people thought it's all part of the show, so they're all fucking cheering. They're all, I don't know what you get like when you go to a musical. Do you get like fucking wine or do you get popcorn? I'm not too sure.
I've never been to any major musicals. I've just been to the like Sierra Repertory musicals, you know. So
yeah, well, I'll tell you that I don't remember them giving you popcorn, so I'm not too sure what
you could buy the popcorn.
Oh, okay. So they fucking start throwing the popcorn, so they're so excited and stuff, and they all think it's part of the show. They're like, "This is better than fucking Circus Soleil. This is amazing," and that's all he's doing. He's just going from like.
Soleil.
He's going from like theater to theater, just killing off musical people.
Circus fucking Soleil. No, but like, I'd watch that Jason movie. Fuck yeah,
I would too. But back to like the whole point is that you think that like Transformers 4 that should be just so amazing. It almost feels like they have the right recipe, but from what you're saying, it almost sounds like they just kind of missed it. You know what I mean? They found a way to put annoying characters back in it. And then they do that thing where, and this is the problem I have with a lot of movies sometimes, is we don't, when we got something that's different than regular life, why do we seem to want to focus so heavily on regular life once again? We got Transformers, we got, the movie should just be 2.5 hours of full-on robots, 10 minutes of maybe human scenes, but instead it's almost kind of like, it seems like, and as I said, I only saw the first one and I was so disappointed that I never saw the rest of them. And I almost thought about seeing this fourth one. And at some point, I'm going to sit down and watch all 4 of them with an open mind and kind of knowing what I'm going there to expect. And I know for a fact it's not the 1986 movie.
I'm going to say I'm not trying to, like I said, it probably is one of the better ones, but at the same time, it's because there is a decent amount of action. It was never really boring, but it was just kind of like you just think one thing like, oh, it's going to be as good as this, but it ends up just being kind of letting you down, not being as good as what you would hope for. And on top of that, at the very end of the movie, like I'll say this though, here's something that's kind of funny. By this point, Optimus Prime is pissed off. The first 3, he's very much kind of like, I'm Optimus Prime and I'm very wise. And by this point, he's like, fuck this shit, we're gonna kill some humans, So yeah, it's almost kind of like it's like, okay, you get a pissed off, angry Optimus, which that defeats the purpose of his name. But still, it's one of those things. Like I was like, okay, they evolved on Optimus Prime a little bit. Cause he's like, we're done fucking helping humans. We're out of here. We're just trying to get a ship and get the fuck out of here. Basically,
this one guy, he bought me, and the only thing he was fucking doing with this car was whipping out his dick to old men. He's like, fuck the human race.
You have no idea how many fucking loads you blew on my hood. That got me kind of thinking. There's like Toy Story. You think of like Toy Story 3. This is something that kind of reminded me. This kind of crossed my mind. These toys have been with Andy basically most of his life. You think they've kind of saw and seen everything, so you think by Toy Story 3, they would be like, no, Andy's there. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. They've been that kid with every intimate moment of his life.
What he's all like, man, one day he just picked me up and used me as a jizz rag and threw me back in the toy box.
Exactly. Like, they've been there when, like, at some point, he had to probably, like, grab Woody and Buzz, like, put it in him.
Probably at some point he tried to, like, fuck Rex or something. He was just like... he's got a wide enough mouth to put my dick in.
Exactly. Or like, so at some point, I'm pretty, because like, the thing is, like, even like most toys, they didn't just go into the attic. He still had a toy box in his room right before he went to college, just in there. So that means they were with that kid basically every intimate moment of his life. And that movie is really kind of sad when you think about just these toys cooped up in this box, just a little peek out the window for God knows how many years.
Well, they probably the older Andy got, the less he was at home, so they probably got a lot more free time to roam around.
Mm-hmm. But it's just one of those things, just like by that point you think like, God, we gotta get the fuck out of here. This kid, you know what I mean? Like let's just leave, because at this point he's not gonna notice. He's not gonna be looking for us, so.
They're like, we've seen a lot of stuff. Well, one time him and his friend Billy got a little experimental with each other. They were fucking 10 years old, and they were like, and Andy leans over and goes, hey, Billy, Let's practice having sex.
You got a friend in me.
It's like, I love this Randy Newman track.
The Lost Years of Toy Story. That'd be the next Pixar short. Because usually every Pixar movie you go see, they got a little short in front of it. Like, oh look, well, you have Frozen, like a Cars 3 or whatever. You go
like,
see
it's just called Andy's like gay experience.
Or just like Toy Story, The Lost Years. Oh, this should be fun, you know. Just
Andy's got a friend in him. You got a friend in yourself.
All over him, and he's got a friend all over. Holy fuck. Oh, a very brave new direction. Like, yo, the movie, this fucking Cars 3 or whatever, that movie's actually only PG, but it's actually kicked up to an R, to an almost like banned level just because
the fucking prequel little like short that they had.
Oh no, that's, yeah. And he's got a friend in him. That's not. Now I'm not saying something like I want to see that, but I'm not saying I want to see that, and I'm not saying I want some weird ass slash fan fiction. Not saying that shit. I'm saying if Disney made that, you'd almost have to just watch it just out of like, all right, the fucking balls on you guys and being the most family. Like, you like, I mean, they reached that point. Like, you know what? We got fucking Star Wars now. We got Matrix. We can kind of do whatever not Matrix, Star Wars.
What
and Marvel.
The fuck? I was like, when did they get Matrix?
I was gonna say, no, they got Star Wars, they got Marvel, and their already existing properties. They can do whatever the fuck they want. So now you wonder if Disney's just gonna say, fuck it, here's this. Are you just like they're testing the waters? Like, are they still gonna watch our shit after this? You know?
Yeah, can we do anything? Is it possible?
Yeah. You know, they could probably just pay off the like movie, the American Film Association.
They probably could.
Just still make it a PG movie. No.
Who knows?
Yeah, so Transformers 4.
Transformers 4. So what do you think? Is it a yay or nay for the theater watching?
You told me you got a free ticket. I'd use your free ticket. I'm not sure if this one's going to change your mind, because the thing is, I already saw all 3 in theaters. 1 and 2 I like. 3, it's kind of bullshit until the very end. The very end, it's just like an hour of explosions, and people say like, it's too much. Like by that point, it's just like, I never really watched Transformers a whole lot, but I mean, not to be this guy, I'm not trying to talk too much shit on it, but it's like one of those things like, it was already a show just made to sell plastic. I don't know how deep or involved it's going to get, but so I just want to see robots and explosions. And this third one, Last Hour, has that, but you know, the rest of it's like, I don't give a fuck. This one, it's probably the most well balanced out. I'm not sure if it's going to change your opinion on it, but it's definitely a step. At the very end of it, I'm kind of wondering what they're going to do. Because at the very end, Optimus is like, I gotta fucking leave Earth and go after the creators or whatever. And so he leaves, but the Autobots are still on Earth. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like going about his odyssey, going after the creators, or if it's just going to focus on a team of Autobots without him for the next one.
Huh. That'd be interesting. It's kind of weird, like in the special features of like the 86 movie, you kind of get like the producers of Hasbro, and they're like, well, our whole point of killing off all the Autobots in the movie was that we were trying to make a new line of toys. I didn't know fucking kids were going to cry over it. It's just a fucking toy in a cartoon show.
Stupid fucking kids being a bunch of little bitches. Give us your money.
Yeah. No, don't you want new toys? What, you want the same old fucking Autobots again?
The Autobots they got on this one, they got Ken Watanabe voicing one of them called...
That's badass.
I don't know. He's a character. I think he was called like Rift or Drift, something like that. He was like a samurai. It was like such a stereotypical kind of like, all right, we lost the Ghetto Bots and Jazz from like the previous ones. This one's gonna be, we're not gonna use any more racist stereotypical characters. And now they're like, oh, they got this guy who's blatantly, he has like a samurai helmet, like, this is disrespectful, dishonorable. He has like a katana, you know, Ken Watanabe's voicing him. They got John Goodman actually voices one of them. He does like he's actually a pretty cool character. I think his name is Hound. He's like this fat, gutted, like like, you know, military. He has like a bunch of guns, and like he looks almost kind of like World War II. He almost looks basically the way John Goodman basically looked in Monuments Men, only with more guns. He basically looked just like that.
Badass. Hold that thought for a second. Let's go run the restroom.
Okay.
Okay, I just gotta remember to edit that out. Do you ever at that point where like it's like you get to a point where you have to piss so bad that you're like, oh man, I fucking couldn't even hold it.
Yeah.
And then like ever since I was a kid, I mean, I understand that like the toilet has equal pressure, but do you ever feel like you have to piss so much that like, why can't I overfill the toilet?
You do have those moments. Yeah.
It sounds so strange, but I've always been like, you know, I've pissed more than like a fucking like liter of a bottle almost. When is it going to overfill?
Yeah, I've had that before. Not very many times, but I've had that, you know.
I think about it every time I go. It's like I understand there's pressure in there of the water so that it keeps it so that no matter how much water goes into the toilet bowl, it never fills out. But like,
you like, let's test this out. You
that's just like
you almost grab like a gallon, you're chugging.
Can I overfill this year?
Let's test this theory out. No, but like we were talking, yeah, like John Goodman voices one of them, and then there's one. I don't know what he is, but his name is. There's one. He's basically. I'm not sure what the fuck he's supposed to be, but he had. I want to say he had an Irish accent, and he was kind of a cowboy at the same time, though. He was green. He had like. He's the one in the trailer you see has like the two parachutes come out, and he's firing with two guns.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what he is, but yeah, so.
Well, there's all kinds of other Transformers shows, and I've never seen anything but the original one, so a lot of times stuff could come from all that other stuff. And
these could be like brand new characters for all I know, but yeah, I have no idea who this guy was. I think it's like Slim or some. I don't know. He had some weird.
He's like Slim Pickens.
Maybe he was kind of a cowboy, but yet he had like an Australian or an Irish accent, and then he was kind of the smart ass one. So the John Goodman character was awesome. I liked the John Goodman character. He was just this kind of angry old. He was this angry old like, you know, like stereotypical like soldier from like World War II. Basically, he had that kind of attitude.
That's badass. Well, John Goodman, you can never go wrong with John Goodman.
Yeah, Robot even looked like John Goodman, so that helps.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you happen to pick up the Lego Movie at all on Blu-ray?
No, I didn't grab that, but I'm gonna though.
Yeah, I saw it.
I'm thinking about just waiting to get a Blu-ray before I buy that movie.
I will say that one, like the special features on it, like I was actually expecting them to be a little bit better special features. They're like okay, and they almost feel like they're sort of made for like a kid, like
games or whatever.
Well, not even that, but they have this one special feature. It's like the making of them. Like, oh, fucking badass. That's what I wanted to see. And then I'm sitting there watching it, and it's kind of got where like fucking Emmett, little Lego characters like narrating it, and it's almost like people are talking like he's a real fucking person. Like, you know, oh, they had to model me after this and that, and you know, everybody had to get my consent about doing this. And then you see like the animator, they're like, yes, you know, Emmett seems to really like when we do this kind of animation and stuff like that. And it's just like that third kind of like person talking. It's like, okay, can I just get some real special features like that? It's almost like that's kind of like funny, but that thing it burns itself out real quickly.
YouTube, I saw one where they took like a bunch of like just additional audio they had between takes of recording, and then just kind of animated to it, and like as if it was like on the set, you know, like just kind of like Will Arnett and like Chris Pratt just kind of bullshitting, but just using the characters and animating kind of.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I think they have some of that stuff on there too, because there was some other stuff on there that I didn't look at, but I was kind of bummed that there wasn't really like a definitive, like really good special feature. It was kind of. You know, it's like because that Lego movie to me, it's like yes, it is. Also, it could be a kids movie too, but it almost reminds me of like it's this movie made for two types of people. Something that kids would totally go and see, but it's kind of made for that '80s and '90s generation that grew up on Legos too, but now are like adults.
Yeah, that was one of those movies. Like, I mean, I loved it. Like, if you heard the podcast like several months back, or not even more than that, shit, I was back in February. Yeah.
Well, that's several months back.
Several? Is that more than several months? Yeah, I guess it was. Well, whatever. Fuck it. Anyway, yeah. You and me love the movie. No secret about that. That movie was awesome. But yeah, I even saw it again since then, and I don't own it, but I saw it since then, and it was definitely like second time I watched it. It was one of those movies where it actually kind of it almost seemed to have more adult humor than than kid humor. And by adult humor, I don't mean like hidden dick jokes, even though there's one or two of those. I mean more of just kind of like that kind of like almost like a PG Adult Swim type humor. What I mean by that is just the kind of like there's the moment like it's stuff you can't really explain why it's funny. It's just you just find it funny. For instance, like I don't think a kid would generally find this funny, but you and me, we just find this kind of things humorous. Like there's the part where like they're talking about like different character like. They're talking about his friends, like Emmett. Who's that guy? There's one guy. Yeah, Emmett's just one of those guys where he partially has his mouth open, just stands there, doesn't say anything, just abruptly cuts to the next person.
Yeah.
Or it's just kind of like things.
Well, that
like,
part too, it's like, and Frank here, he loves sausages. I mean, that's his thing. He's got two of them. He's like swinging them like it's two fucking dildos.
Or it's just kind of like small lines, kind of like, can't you see the sarcastic like quotation marks I'm making with my hands, with my claw hands, like things like I'm not sure if a kid would really find that funny right there. It's just the small little lines like that. Or, I mean, this is more like I think a kid would find this funny. The slapsticky stuff, kind of like when Bad Cop jumps on top of that sounds weird, but Bad Cop jumps on top of Emmett. He's like narrating, but he's slowly tilting down. He hasn't hit the ground yet, but he's just what I'm talking about. The narration and the when he's interrogating him. So it's kind of the small things like that, that actually just kind of add up. That, and plus it's just a really smart movie. Just like kind of like the jokes, like for instance, like but they're a great company. They make everything from music to food to voting machines to history books. They just like wait a minute. They just like abrupt cut,
No, yeah, it's like it's got a lot of adult humor in there, and that's one of those kind of movies because I'll tell people like I'm like, dude, you got to see the fucking Lego Movie. It is mind blowing, amazing, and people give you that look. You mean that kids movie? It's like no, it's not even a fucking kids movie. It looks like a kids movie, but it's not. And I don't mean that, but I'm just saying like because when the only downfall when a movie's called a kids movie, it almost sounds like it's dumbed down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like sort of like it's made for a child. Like why would an adult go and see it? It's just got stupid like kids humor nobody's gonna understand. And when you take it out of that like kids realm, it's almost like no, it's not that. It's PG, but that doesn't mean anything. It's fucking hilarious. It's witty. It's smart. It almost like bring a tear to your eye by both laughing and just like the kind of nostalgic factor it's got.
Well, plus at the same time, this might sound a little cheesy, but I want to say the movie actually was very kind of sincere and very because. The whole movie has the message of the movie is everyone's is a special snowflake. Everyone's all that, and
don't be an evil Republican. That's kind of like what it breaks down to.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like that. Oh yeah, we're all special in our own special way. Which that's so easy to just kind of like bullshit and just kind of sound cheesy and cliche. But the way the movie presents it, and the way they write it, and the way it's actually very kind of like sincere, touching moment at the very end. It's kind of like how they kind of stop the bad guy, and that speech between the kid and the father, played by Will Ferrell at the end of the movie, and just the line where he's just like, "You don't have to be the bad guy," and just that speech he gives right there. It's really a well written scene. It actually is. It is. Maybe I'm just getting soft in my old age, but it's a little bit of a tearjerker. I have not cried in a movie since I was like in like the 5th grade, but that scene right there was a little bit of a tearjerker. It's one of those movies. It was up there.
Well, technically, I'll say I did cry during that movie because I was laughing so hard at the Batman Star Wars part. That was.
That's like one of the just list the line like, yeah. It turns out the hairy thing was a dude. Batman tried to fuck Chewbacca. Just the image of that right there. That's probably a line that Will Arnett just like improvised too.
But it's just that movie. It's just everything about it is just fantastic. Like I literally think it's like a 4 out of 4 movie.
I have no real complaints about it. Yeah.
No real complaints. It's smooth. It goes perfect. And to top it off, I love the comedy. I love the message. I just kind of like that concept of like, don't be a dirty Republican. Don't follow it. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself. Do your own thing, and don't follow the instructions. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing.
I also like this is actually on a different topic, but since we talked about it so much, this kind of gives me an opportunity to talk about it. Might as well bring it up. They've announced the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and I'm kind of curious about.
I know Sony's got both the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and the Metal Gear Solid movie.
Yeah, and the thing with
what if they're like, well, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a fusion movie of both Sonic and Metal Gear. It's gonna start off. Snake's gonna be fucking riding Sonic the Hedgehog in the Shadow Moses.
Just riding it like he's a horse.
It's his fucking Yoshi.
I don't know, man. I'm sure there's probably. I'm sure if you go into the deep dark web, I'm sure you can find several images of that in the wrong way.
I wasn't thinking the wrong way. I was just thinking like fucking Snake. He's just on top of Sonic. Sonic's just running, and it's just like instead of him getting shot like in that like torpedo thing coming in, it's just like he's fucking on top of the water running.
And shit, why don't we go a step further? Why don't we make what's chasing him like a warship from Mario Brothers 3? Fuck it, just go there too.
I guess. Hey, and then you got Dr. Robotnik and fucking like Liquid Snake like working together to create the ultimate Metal Gear.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, never mind. I get better.
I was thinking of the Sonic Metal Gear crossover.
Sonic
the
Metal
weirdest.
Gear. Okay, I thought you were just kidding. Okay, yeah, I guess because they're owned by Sony. Just do the crossover movie. For a while, they're trying to build up.
Yeah, that was like the whole thing. It's because both Sony Pictures has both of them.
Okay, all right, I misheard that part. Yeah, the Sony. I'm curious to see about this. Metal Gear Solid. That's one of those things. Like, not to be this guy. I don't really know, just because that's something I've been talking about since Metal Gear first came out. Metal Gear Solid first came out. And so, I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I believe it when I see it. Sonic is something where they already got a writer, they already got like a producer, and I'm curious about that. Here's the thing: like, I'm not really worried about the producer, because he's one of those guys like half the shit's pretty bad, half the shit's good. He did produce like the 21 and 22 Jump Street movies, which is the same guy, which are the guys who made the Lego Movie.
Yeah.
And he also produced the more recent Fast and the Furious movies. So he's had some bad shit, but he's also had some good shit. And the thing that kind of has me a little bit interested, it kind of makes like, oh, that's kind of a different choice. Let's see what happens. He didn't get two screenplay writers. He didn't get like two just screenplay writers or anything. He got two like sketch comedy writers from like underground like sketch group called Upstanding Citizen Brigade, which is just like some Chicago based. I guess there's several others of just like just sketch comedy formers, and they're kind of and they bring in kind of like a kind of indie type crowd. They also did. I know they did because I looked them up, and they also did like this funnier like Seth Rogen a few months back did. I think it was something for Alzheimer's. Did some kind of like charity work for Alzheimer's. And he reached his goal of just trying to raise this money for it. So they wrote this Funny or Die sketch where Seth Rogen equals worst person in the world. It opens up. It's actually kind of funny. Seth Rogen's like, yeah, man, I reached this goal. We help people. Like, hey, you don't have to do another good thing for the rest of your life. Like, you're right. I don't. It just starts off with him just stealing from a store, then it just reaches the point of him just like murdering people with just like this kind of happy music over it. So he's all like, it's been about a year. Maybe we should do something nice again. Like, yeah, we should probably do it again. Everyone kind of hates me now. So it was actually kind of like, that was kind of funny. So I'm kind of curious to see what these guys do. The one thing that kind of worries me is they said it was like half animation, half live action. So I'm really hoping it's not going to be some shit like a kid finds Sonic and they become best friends at some point.
Then he's at that age where he decides he's going to get experimental. He's like, well, I fucked my friend Billy earlier. Now I'm going to fuck an animal that talks.
Fuck my friend Andy.
Yeah, it's the story of that friend that Andy had.
Once again, another crossover.
I don't know. It's one of those ones. I look at it this way. It's like, I would love to see a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I'm kind of at that point where it's just like, fuck it. Why not? Let's live the world. Like, there's so many people out there want to be negative. It's just like, let's just do it. Fuck it. And even if it doesn't work out this one time, well, hell, we can try it again. You know what I mean?
That's how I feel. And I'm not being kind of like, oh, let's see what happens. I'm not being one of those guys. Like, 'cause every so often you'll look at someone online like, yes, full-grown man with man tits with a Naruto poster behind him looking into a webcam. Tell me how things ought to be, So
yes, great Buddha of the internet. Explain your wisdom.
Yeah, so it's kind of
with
like
the giant Diet Coke in hand.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like I'm not going to sit here and just be a web troll. I'm like, well, let's see what happens. I don't trust it. I mean, I'm hoping it's going to be good, but we'll see when it comes out. And even if it doesn't, if it's not good, it's not the end of the world. There's a point where I really cared, but now I'm just like, I hope it's good. If not, whatever,
The Metal Gear Solid one's Hideo Kojima's back in that one, so it's not like Sony just has the rights to like a movie production. Mm-hmm. It's like he's a part of it, so at least that's a good thing there.
Yeah. If he's at least a part of it, that's kind of good right there. One thing I just want to say this real quick, but that kind of sort of links into the Sonic one as well, because since they own Metal Gear and Hideo's part of it, Sega actually, the people who actually do all their animated cutscenes for the games of the I think since Sonic Adventure 2 or 3 or something. Not two, not three. There wasn't three. Since
Sonic 2006.
Sonic Heroes, okay. I believe. They've had like they have someone doing the cutscenes for that. And say what you will about Sonic Unleashed itself, but the opening cutscene, really good. That's a really cool cutscene they have at the beginning where he's fighting Robotnik. Yeah. And if you can actually get that into a movie and just work a halfway decent story with some good writing in there, I think you're already there, really. So well, it's like hopefully it's just we don't have some scene where a kid is like he's going to the in the beginning of the third act, he has to go to he's on some fucking date and
it takes place in New York,
or L.A.
Yeah, or L.A. And it's just one of those ones, and they fucking have to live in his... Sonic and, Tails have to live in his apartment. And they have wacky things where he's trying to hide him from his friends and his neighbors and whatnot.
They cause trouble, but somehow help him out, on a date, So it's just one of those things. Hopefully they don't have any shit like that, but like another fucking Smurfs or some bullshit.
He helps him off like a windmill jerk-off, so there's nothing gay about it.
That's the whole fucking movie. What if just we're just gonna take a really weird artsy approach? This kid found this hedgehog in this back alley, just fucking sucking cock to survive.
This hedgehog, he was a speed addict, and that's how he gets his power. And he has these hallucinations where he's battling a giant red fat man who makes robots, which really he was just destroying cars in a junkyard.
That's just his pimp.
That beats him and takes his rings.
Get out there, start sucking. Yeah, you just robbed a pawn shop. He just has a whole fistful of rings, pretty much.
They should just call it Sonic the Hedgehog and a fistful of rings.
Fistful of rings? Why not? Yeah. This is one of those things. I think it would be a good idea, and keep in mind, I'm not saying this is what they should do, but I think what would be a good idea.
This is what they should do if they had fucking brains in them. These fat people are sitting there, just and then you just hear Billy, dinner's ready. Mom, I'm spelling out my guts here on the internet, telling people how to live their lives.
I'm talking to my friends. They understand me.
They understand me and my Domino's addiction.
No, but yeah, I love you, cheesy bread. Yeah, no,
it's
something
so
as scary as sad as that. Have you ever every time you eat cheesy bread,
an angel loses its wings?
An angel loses its wings. Yeah,
it's the exact opposite of the bell ringing.
Bell ringing. Yeah. Well, it's every time you take a bite out of cheesy bread, Satan fucks a child. It's just something horrible.
Jimmy Stewart just sitting there eating cheesy bread, just this is good cheesy bread.
Every time you eat cheesy bread, Satan rapes a nun.
I love the cheesy bread, I tell ya. Darndest good thing I've ever had.
So, but no, I think what would be a good idea. It would be cool. I think it'd be awesome if Edgar Wright was in it, and he was directing that. But
since he's not doing Ant-Man, he's fucking open.
Yeah, he's got the time for it. And then you could also maybe do I don't know, it'd be cool if you did something kind of a good, bad, and the ugly kind of thing. You got Sonic, everyone's just kind of a chase for all the emeralds. You got
Sonic, you get Sonic's the good, Robotnik's
Knuckles,
the bad, and
Knuckles is the ugly.
Yeah.
But at the end, we all know that only Sonic doesn't put Knuckles on a noose and point a rifle at him at the end. They become friends by the end of it, and they work together. Eventually, just kind of work. But you got Sonic and Tails as the good, Robotnik is the bad, and Knuckles is the ugly, and just kind of a race against time. I kind of like those movies where it's just. Even though we're mainly watching it for the good, I like those movies. Here's just three different. Whose side are you on? Even though the movie's called Sonic, so chances are you're already on more of his side. But still, yeah. I think I always kind of like those movies where it's kind of you got just these different parties, and whose side are you on, really? Where it kind of lets you decide for a second.
I will say that good, the bad, the ugly formula, every time I see a movie that uses it, it's one of those ones it never gets old. Maybe because, I don't know, maybe not enough movies have used it yet, but it's a perfect formula for a movie. And you can use it for almost any genre, too. It's just so good. It's three little tales that all intertwine together, and you got your bad guy, you got your good guy, and you got the guy who's kind of either in between or way out there or what have you.
And you get kind of like you get ones that add more to it, where it's like 5 or 6 different groups, which like that's kind of like what Snatch is. I mean, usually most movies, not very many of them, most movies usually do have a defining kind of this is the main character, like Faster, Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
But the good, the bad, the weird.
Uh-huh.
But the general concept is like here's a bunch of different people, like ones that actually I think do have a good one. I think this doesn't really go by that same formula because usually all these movies revolve around one common goal. One movie where I think a few movies that actually do like don't play favorites to one character is probably Watchmen, because that one is kind of like something of the same formula, not entirely, but more into the sense of kind of like, well, there is just these 5 different parties. Who do you agree with at the end of the day? You got Smokin' Aces, which that's a really good. Have you ever seen Smokin' Aces?
I've never seen Smokin' Aces. I remember when that came out, but I never saw it.
It's a really good movie, and it's kind of the ending's kind of whatever, but the overall movie it's cool because what it's about is what's his name? I forgot the actor's name, but he's basically this one guy who used to be a magician, became a crime lord in like I believe in Las Vegas, and he's hiding out in Lake Tahoe, and he's pent up in this like hotel suite, and all these bounty hunters with their own kind of like quirks and personalities are all going after him all at once.
That sounds badass.
One of them is like two of them is like this team of these 2 black chicks. Alicia Keys is one of them. Like one's a sniper. Alicia Keys like this badass like undercover type chick. Ryan Reynolds is the FBI agent who's supposed to be protecting them with Ray Liotta.
Huh.
Ben Affleck he's in it for a little while. Ben Affleck's in it. He's a bail bondsman guy, but he's just there just for a little bit. You got like 3 neo-Nazis in the movie that are trying to like bust in there and get it. And they have like a guy who's like a master of disguise, and you got this guy who's like the switchblade thing that comes out of his wrist. So you got all these weird characters, and neither one of them are like kind of the main character. They're all kind of like all with their own story. So
and it's like I say, I like that kind of formula. It gives it kind of like a break, and I think Sonic the Hedgehog would almost work well in that kind of formula, even though it sounds kind of a strange. Probably explain that to somebody at first. It's kind of strange, but no, just like. You could just focus on, even if you did it like there's a Sonic story, there's a Tails story, there's a Knuckles story, and there's a Robotnik story, and they sort of all intertwine, being this, kind of big thing to add up at the end. And in a sense, the whole thing is they're all searching for the emeralds. Knuckles is protecting the emeralds, Sonic's trying to get him away from Robotnik, and then Robotnik's trying to take him for himself, and Tails is more like helping out Sonic,
Yeah.
He's fucking building shit so Sonic can destroy it.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of cool. And so like setting like some instead of like the whole
should just be in Mobius. I know they wouldn't put it in Mobius, but like that's where it should just be. It's just like
some dystopian world, some dystopian future, kind of like.
The only thing is, I just hope that they don't do it with the Sonic movie, and I feel like they probably will do it. Is don't do it like a Smurfs where they're in like fucking New York, or
I really hope they don't.
Underdog, or any of those other movies that they made.
Yeah. I've
Underdog. There's a fucking name drop for a movie.
I forgot about it till you just mentioned it. Like,
I know.
I was like, oh, they're making an Underdog movie? I liked Underdog as a kid. Then I saw the trailer, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I actually watched the movie.
How?
Yeah. It was on TV. It was 4 a.m.
I remember the movie. I'm not trying to be like...
I was like, I loved Underdog as a kid. I'm like, fuck it, I'll watch it, I wouldn't say it was god-awful, but it wasn't, Underdog. Just say that.
What kind of killed my ultimate faith, it wasn't even so much the movie, it was just, I'm not, because I know I probably sound like some prick on Honest Trailers. Like, how did you watch it? But no, it was one of those things. Like I remember seeing like this almost kind of like shot the movie down and killed me. Before I already didn't like the way it looked, but I remember going to see some movie. I don't remember what, and there's a trailer for Underdog, and I don't know why I was in a movie theater with some of the dumbest fucking people. I don't know. Maybe personally they were really nice, but just some of the dumbest fucking people. It had to be a Disney movie because I remember there's like 3 or 4 Disney trailers.
It's just one of which they didn't have movie experience, I guess you could say, or etiquette.
I guess, yeah, and I guess kind of like there's
self-respect.
There's the more recent episode of South Park where the fatty poo poo, and then like Garmin gets really overweight, and they show like all the fat people in scooters. Pretty much a theater filled with those like fat people in scooters kind of people,
Or the rascals.
The rascals, yeah, that's what it was. Just basically that, and I remember just sitting because I remember just there's like the one guy. There's the one guy that he goes to Disneyland. You see like one guy in the front. I was just this confused look on his face. Wearing the Mickey Mouse ears. Like I've seen that fucker. You know, like that right there. But anyway, yeah. Actually, I think I went to go see it was like one of the Chronicles of Narnia movies. I got dragged to, and I was like, second one wasn't so bad, but there's a bunch of fucking shitty trailers, and one of them was Underdog. So what ended up happening is somewhere in the trailer they say one city, one country. Underdog, and the whole theater just like, oh, that's so fucking funny, just start cracking up. I'm just like, really that right there.
It's funny.
Then there's also the same thing. There's also the exact same reaction to the trailer. There's like a teaser trailer to that. I never saw the fucking movie, thank God. I think I got a herpes sore just from watching the trailer. But like fucking Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Yeah, that was one of those ones, like, I look at that trailer and go, why?
No, because
watching the trailer is already hard enough.
And it was like one of those things, like it was like the teaser had a bunch of chihuahuas just dance, like CG chihuahuas dancing, like Chihuahua, just playing like some annoying song. George Lopez voicing the Chihuahua, and then like whole theater just uproariously laughing. I'm just like, oh, are you fucking kidding me?
You know, it's like I like my good animal flicks, like Homeward Bound. Like there's a good one. If you want a good movie about animals, Homeward Bound was the one, because they all had they all had voices, but it was almost like in their head, like how you expect a dog to. It's like, I don't know. Once animals became CG and they started fucking talking, it just became weird. Like, I don't know. I look at them like, that's not a real dog or a real cat.
How long before they do the Homeward Bound reboot?
I know.
How long before America's ready for the Homeward Bound reboot? You know.
I don't know. It's just like that's a perfect example. I'm gonna fucking sit down.
I'm
gonna sit down and watch that movie again. I haven't seen that forever.
They already did Tron. They're making Black Hole. How long before they jump over to, like, what else do we got? Homeward Bound. Here we go. We already did Shaggy Dog 8 times in a row.
They've done a lot of Shaggy Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, I hope they don't make Sonic fucking in New York. That's like my...
yeah.
It's I don't know what it is. Whenever the movie, like, takes place, like, in New York, when it's like, why the fuck is the Smurfs in New York? Like, I almost kind of feel like if it takes place in New York, I mean, I'll still see it's Sonic the Hedgehog. I'll go see it no matter what. But yeah. I feel like if it's going to be one of those New York movies, fuck it. You know, unless it's a New York Woody Allen movie where, like, Sonic and Woody Allen are walking the street talking about sex or something, like, that'd be different. And it's a movie about nothing. It's just, like, kind of like Tales of Life. Tales of Life,
just Sonic the Hedgehog.
Fucking like a pun.
It sounds like
just the Woody. Really, I would pay to see the Woody Allen Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
There's the movie with no running. Sonic's just wearing like,
no action. It's just like you know, Dr. Obama's just this fucking jerk that like lives in the apartment next door to him.
Brown like cashmere jacket, just walking around like fucking New York, and like an accordion plays a lot so much whenever we have a shot of him just walking through the park.
Just walking through the park.
He's going through a midlife crisis.
Yeah, he's like...
Amy won't stop calling him.
Yeah.
He hasn't talked to Knuckles in like 10 years because he like fucked Amy this one drunken night, you know.
And then we could even bring in characters from like the Sonic the TV show, like in there. What's her name? The rabbit.
Sally.
It's just like he's like, you know, I can't decide who to go after. I mean, we got Sally here. She's my original gal and everything.
We have him talking to the camera like a POV, just pointing.
You know, but now I'm dating Amy. You see, so
Jewish Sonic. Yes, Jewish Sonic.
Just talking about problems. He's like, but you know, I got to make my pictures now. I mean, I'm a writer, you see, and I got stories to tell.
You just get like, you know, yeah, just some kind of like lighthearted drama. Yeah.
That's what they gotta do is just fucking take it out like as far into left field as possible. Just this point where it's just like, what the fuck are they? Who the hell are they making this for?
It's rated R too. Yeah.
And it's like a very subtle rated R. There's a point where like Sonic kind of breaks out.
They say fuck like 4 times.
Yeah, like one of those ones. You know, it's not nothing too over the top.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Then maybe, you know, like a subtle,
maybe like a subtle like tit of like the Rogue or something, just to, like fucking spice it up.
I'm afraid to say this shit too loud because I got roommates now. Before I could sit right there with you, just be like fuck, shit, ass, yeah, whatever.
Fucking take that bat, bend it over, and fuck the bat.
Now I got roommates with very thin walls. I'm already the weird guy in the building, so...
Well, yeah, it's probably weirder, too, because you're wearing headphones, so, like, they don't even know what you're talking to.
They don't even know what I'm talking.
They're
to
probably
right
going
now.
like, man, that guy just talks to himself all fucking night long.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. I'm already kind of the weird one, so.
But I'd pay to see the Woody Allen Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Just kind of not to be just like, just something out of left field, just something really fucking weird. I mean, not saying it needs to happen, but if it happens, I'm going to see it just out of the sheer, just kind of like curiosity,
No, I think it totally.
Or get a Darren Aronofsky Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Where it just starts off and like it's dimly lit, midnight. Sonic sitting at the edge of the bed naked. For some reason, you can see his ass cheeks like a '90s cartoon. He's smoking a cigarette.
What happens is he's then like kind of like walking to the kitchen. We hear this weird creak noise. The light goes on. We see he has a leg brace. He damaged his leg some years back, so he can't run fast anymore. That used to be his abilities used to pay the bills. Now he's just kind of like rent's coming up. He's got a kid he hasn't talked to. He has a kid with Amy that he hasn't talked to like in
12 years.
Knuckles like scores him like cheap drugs, He has kind of like this weird, they used to be best friends, but now they don't really trust each other since he's partially his dealer. He's like,
Tails lives in this like
successful.
He's in a successful life. He builds fucking like future technology. He's making computers and stuff, and has this great paying job.
This all happened after actually Robotnik died. He has no one to fight anymore. So after that, he just kind of went in a downward spiral and just kind of pushed everybody away.
Yeah, at one point he just decided, he's like, you know what, if I kill Robotnik, this will all be over, and then we'll go back to a great life.
And that's what kind of was. After that, the success went to his head. That eventually led to like his leg injury. He can't run fast anymore. So now that just life's been around. Just the midlife crisis movie. Moby. He just lives in like some dank, like just shitty part of town.
he has to go to Casinopolis to like fucking like score an extra buck.
Yeah, he'll do like autograph signings like at the local YMCA after hours or something.
For an extra $10, we'll go blow you in the back alley. It's just what
sad thing. Want to know who does it? Want to who pay? Want to know who? It's actually Big the Cat that gives him the offer. So now who blows Sonic? Give you $15 if you swallow.
Silver or whatever's like now he's the really like popular hedgehog of like the group.
Silver's the big one now.
He's on fucking billboards, he's in movies and all this shit. Sonic has to see it. Outside of his dank apartment, there's just this big billboard up for like Silver's next big action movie.
Amy's with him now, and he's just kind of thinking the whole time, if only I didn't break Amy's heart. If I just went with Amy from the first place, what the fuck's wrong with me?
And
man?
Silver's just this total douche. He's like, yeah, I fucking pay for Sonic's kid. You know why? Because I'm a good father. I support children. I don't care if it's not mine. Sonic's, Sonic's just a total washout. Fuck him. Fuck him and his blue cunt.
Shadow, he's like, he's just some like gutter punk that's homeless, lives at the local park. He has like a metalcore band that plays at the like local like underground punk club on the weekends.
It's him and the fucking guys from a Sonic Underground that start a band together.
And like he's like Bruges is a crack whore.
No. It's like
the robot.
Shadow's he's got the backup band from Sonic Underground, and so it's another thing that's like another like niche in like Sonic's build. He's like, that used to be my band, but now it's Shadow's.
I just see him like, but Shadow's content though. He's happy. He's like, yeah, I don't pay rent. I just kind of crashed the park, man. I got my people.
It's about the music, man.
I got Rouge. I got Fang. Fang, no one knows where he went. He's been here at this park the whole time, He quit bounty hunting, we're just gonna kick it on the weekends, he helps me score. We're all good.
We rode into Sonic every once in a while,
We're low. He pays. He'll buy a whole pack of Mickeys. We pay each other off somehow.
He'll let me beat him up for a pack of Mickeys. I just take him into a back room and I just like let my anger out on him. I just fucking wail on that fucking hedgehog.
there's a few times that we actually knocked over a convenience store. We had to like break into a punch. We had to pawn the Chaos Emeralds every so often. If I stored up, I could use Chaos Control, run in there, rob a convenience store, and get out. That can kind of get us by for like at least a month, man. I tell you. There's one that we have a flashback. There's one time I didn't have Chaos Control. They just go in there with fucking ski mask, like with guns. Like he has the fucking like pop cap gun from Sonic the Fighters. It's just like, give me the fucking register.
Just this dark version of Sonic the Hedgehog. See, like,
holy fuck, I want this movie now.
There's many what we're saying, I guess.
I just talked myself out of the good, bad, and the ugly idea. I just want this fucking movie.
Well, what we learned? We learned that there could be multiple Sonic the Hedgehogs. We can have a Woody Allen Sonic the Hedgehog movie. We can have a good, the bad, and the ugly Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Or we can have the Darren Aronofsky Sonic the Hedgehog movie. There's probably 1,000 other options.
Which also sounds kind of like what's it called? Sid and Nancy at the same time, just kind of like the vibe and feel.
The Sid and Nancy, that'd be like the offshoot of that one, which is just a story of Shadow and Rouge.
Yeah.
What the fuck's that, like, that little orange rabbit's name?
Cream,
yeah. Cream, she just now is like a stripper. She just gets fucking creamed on.
I don't need to go there. There's already, I'm sure DeviantArt already has like a fucking group dedicated to that. That's something I just try to, because that's the thing, because I'm a huge Sonic fan, but the thing is, I'm almost kind of like the internet. I'm almost afraid to admit it, because now they're almost apparently like people almost associate certain fans with like bronies, because a lot of certain fans are into like the weird like fucking erotica fan art shit. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? What's wrong? I just like the games. Why the fuck are you I mean, people like what they like. I fucking get that, but that's almost kind of like because of these fuckers over here. Now I gotta almost be a closet fan about Sonic the Hedgehog.
I know the bronies have kind of ruined a lot of things for a lot of people.
Oh, it's not even the bronies, but it's almost kind of like it's not even bronies.
Well, I feel like that's where it starts off at. Once you start getting into that, then you go to the next level.
Well, it's not even them related. It's just one of those things like now people associate them as part of like the same group or just something as weird. I don't know. I'm not even trying to, because I know there are some probably normal, cool people out there that are fans of that shit. I'm just, yeah.
Well, I always look at it this way. It's like, okay, I like Powerpuff Girls, but I'm not going to go out and wear a Powerpuff Girls t-shirt. Or I'm not going to put that up as like the title of my Twitter handle. Like, I'm a total Powerpuff Girls like fan. And I'm this like 25-year-old man. Like, that's fucking weird. It's one thing to say, like, I mean, if you just say, like, oh, yeah, I watch My Little Pony and whatever, fuck it, I'm just into it. But once you start getting hats and T-shirts and fucking sporting it and you get together in your clubs together with just a bunch of sweaty old man fucking sitting around watching, like, little girl TV shows, that's kind of fucking weird. You could at least say a Powerpuff Girls, at least there's fighting in it.
There's at least violence.
And comedy,
like,
so.
But yeah. I mean, I've never judged. I've never seen the show. I just don't really care to see it. And like we've talked to Marley about that. And like I said, I know that there's like Marley's he's a good friend of mine. And I know there's some good normal people out there that probably like it.
Well, you know what it kind of is? It's the modern thing of like where like there's those men that really are into Barbie. It's kind of the modern thing of that.
I guess
sounds weird, but that's sort of what it is.
And the whole thing with I'm just saying.
So to me, like bronies remind me of a bunch of Smithers. Smithers nowadays in Simpsons probably a brony.
I haven't watched Simpsons in a while. They probably have some kind of brony. It seemed like a Family Guy reference they try to make. I haven't really watched either of them in so long, but yeah, that's a good point though. I didn't think of that.
But yeah, well, it's probably a good time to leave off. It's getting sort of late, but so yeah, we'll see how well this panned out. Hopefully, it recorded the whole thing. Hopefully, but
be like our second lost episode.
Don't have too many lost episodes. It's never a good thing. But, yeah. Well, till then, make sure to go to oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, videos, music, animation, comics, art, and so on. And until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Good.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.